This is a good idea, and it makes total sense, because once he explained what they wanted to do, the way they worded it, total shit. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, because you can't figure out how am I supposed to put a panel in. They tell you they want you to fill this all in, but don't attach it anywhere. So once you understand what they're trying to get at, it makes a lot more sense. Hey guys, Tim McAmis here in the shop this afternoon, and want to touch base with you on a couple of these rule changes that's happened over the off season. So we've done several videos on some of these rule changes, kind of touched on a few of the new stuff and some of the things that were like they were previous years and what they've changed to now. Now there have been some, most of these modifications that affect us are for Pro Mod and Pro Stock exclusively, but you know, over the years these things tend to trickle down to some of the other classes, and I'd like to share with you some of this because it's a good idea for these cars, but it's a good idea for every car. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is this this driver's side X bracing, and you'll see that we have this is basically all enclosed in carbon here, and you know, in years past this was all open, so all these panels were open, and as the evolution of these cars changed, this particular area right here was required to be filled in. We started out years ago putting a net in here, like almost like a window net, and that was before there was even a rule for this. We had a custom net made. You know, that's back in the good old days when you run a clutch and you had your clutch foot out here closer to the left side of this interior of the car. Now you just have a brake pedal because nobody can figure out how to run a clutch anymore. But this area has always become kind of a area of contention for issues, you know, like you want to keep the driver's feet, arms, hands, everything inside the car if there's an issue with an impact or a rollover or any kind of incident on the track. We want to keep that driver belted in a nice race tech seat like this, belted in tight, keep him inside the car, keep all of his arms and limbs and legs and everything protected. So several years back, the rule was created to more specifically address this area right here, and you were required to put a panel in here. It could either fit flush to the inside or no farther than the middle of these tubes, and then it had to have a impact resistant padding on the inside. So like it had to have some impact padding similar to what's in the pour-in seats or somewhat's in this race tech seat, somewhat's in the bottom of that would be on here. So if the driver was rolling over and his legs were thrashing around in there, that it would hit this foam would protect him, keep him inside there and keep his legs from getting impacted from outside the car, which was a good idea. Okay, so that was a good improvement over some of the previous. So we had nothing, then we had a net, then we went to this panel with the padding on it. Really good. Now, our cars are built a little bit differently. Some of them have the X braces shaped a little differently, and sometimes this is a larger area down here. So there were places where arms and legs could get outside the car. So this carbon panels and things were made to fill this in. So almost making like a cocoon in here, so you can kind of see as this was filled in. Now, this has a race tech seat in it, so this seat is all, you can see where the seat fits here, but there was a slight little area here that kept the driver's shoulder and arm, because elbow could poke out through here, so we fit this carbon panel in here. These down here, strictly cosmetic. The seat fits right up in here, so nothing could come out here. I suppose from here forward you could possibly get a foot or part of your leg out of this small hole, but regardless, this was all filled in, and we had a panel on here that fit to the middle of this tube, and then it had the impact padding on the inside. Fast forward to these rule changes, and the reason we're doing this video is because the wording of the rule change that NHRA made for Pro Stock and Pro Mod, very confusing, okay? So we didn't understand it when it came out, so I had to call my buddy Bob Blackwell, who's been an NHRA tech guy for like 150 years, and he explained to me the rule, and I still didn't understand it. I said, I don't understand anything about what you're saying. It doesn't make any sense. He said, here, let me tell you what we want to do, what we want to achieve here, and you'll be able to figure it out backwards from that. And I said, okay, let me have it. He said, what's happened over the times is these panels were attached, so this panel here would have been attached here, it would have been attached here, it would have been attached to this tube. This panel, as you can see, was attached here and down here. This one was attached here and here. Well, this new rule says they want a panel in here. It doesn't have to have any padding on it any longer, but it also cannot attach to this tube or the main hoop. So they want panels in here. They want to keep the driver inside the car, but they don't want you attached to any of this. So I'm like, how do you put it in there not attached to it? So he said, here's what we want to fix. He said, so let's say this car's in an accident on the track. It's rolled over, it's on its side or whatever, the safety safari, and this is suggestions from them. So a lot of these rules come from the safety safari suggesting rule changes to the tech guys, and then they implement them to the builders, and that's how this whole process works. So the safety safari, so imagine that you're in here, you've had a bad accident, you're knocked out, okay, you're unconscious. Safety safari gets here, car may be on fire, may not, they need to extract you, but you can't help yourself, they need to get you out. Well, even with the net down, this is a small area to get out of, so they're like, get the jaws of life out, get the cutters, which is the big hydraulic pincher cutters that they have, and they're like, we're gonna remove this. So they're gonna start chopping on this. Well, if this panel is attached here, and this panel is attached here, and this panel is attached here, and to this X, this doesn't come out. Even if you cut this, if you cut it here, 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 and here, it's still stuck in here with all these tabs. So they're like, we need to eliminate that. We still need to fill this in, but we need to eliminate that attachment point. And I'm like, all right, that makes perfect sense. So this panel now has to attach on the inside of the tubing, and it has to be flush to the center so that you can see it can't be pushed out. It's got constant contact all the way around. And it is attached to this tube and to this tube, but not to this one. So right now this just slips up past here and it goes past the center of the tube, and you can see it's still, there's no way you're gonna push that out. But if I come in there and cut this, now this isn't attached. This isn't hooking me back to the chassis. Same thing down here. Now, if you look the way this was done, you could see previously this car was built two years ago. This panel came down here and it attached to these 3 tabs. At the time it was done, that was totally legal and fine. But now, to make that more accessible, what we've done is we made a little U-channel strip here, and we fastened that to the tab, and then we cut this panel off. So now this panel slips in there. So you can see it's still got a lot of good pressure against it, but it's just slipped in there. And then we did the same thing back here. So this panel now is attached here, but back here it just slips in. So if I'm the safety safari guy, I come in here with my cutters, bite it here, 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 pull this thing out, throw it to the side. So now these panels are no longer attached to this exterior perimeter here, okay? So after he explained it to me, I was like, that's a good idea, because we're all about safety. We want the driver to be safe. We want the car to protect the driver. But there's going to be issues. I mean, there's going to be crashes. There's going to be things happen. So this is a suggestion from the safety safari to like, hey, this is how we fix this problem. And it makes sense. So you may not be running Pro Stock. You may not be running Pro Mod. You might be running Top Sportsman. You might be running any class. But if you're in the process of building a car, maybe updating the car you have, you need to think about that, because this, regardless of what class you're in or what you do with your car, this is a good idea. This is one of those rule changes that is really purposely effective towards helping the driver out if there is an issue. Because now if this guy is unconscious in here, we get this big chunk out of the way, we can get him out of here without causing any further damage to the driver, or getting a couple guys in there to grab to help him out. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a Pro Mod car that you're working on, but think about that. So this follows a lot of cars, any drag racing car that would be at a track where there would be some safety crew. A lot of these independent tracks now too have their own safety equipment. They have their own cutters, and they have guys who know how to use them. So you don't have to be at a national event. You could just be at a organized event of any kind that has a safety crew there. Most likely they're going to have some Hurst cutters with them, and if they do and they need to use that, this could save your life, okay? Because they could get you out of there and get you to some medical attention and get you out of that car as quickly as possible. So this is one of those rule changes that when we read it, it's like, what the hell are they talking about? And after we understood what their point was, sometimes the tech guys said they have good intentions on these rules that they make, and we don't really know the purpose of it. So there's thousands of incidents on the track each year, and they use all that information to try to better these cars and better the sport and protect the drivers. So this is a good idea, and it makes total sense, because once he explained what they wanted to do, the way they worded it, total shit. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, because you can't figure out, how am I supposed to put a panel in? They tell you they want you to fill this all in, but don't attach it anywhere. So once you understand what they're trying to get at, it makes a lot more sense. So think about that if you're updating your car, or maybe you're building a new car. Maybe you got it on the table. Think about that. Like, we even left a little access point up here. We cut this panel back so that it'd be easy to get into to cut. This one here, easy to cut. You can see all these are fairly easy to get to now. So kind of, hopefully you won't ever have to need it cut out of there, but if you do, couple of seconds or minutes really makes a big difference on getting you out of the car and to some medical attention. So that's all I got for this evening. If you need any help with anything, give us a call. We'll be glad to talk you through it. Use this information how you see fit. Look at the rule book, interpret it the way you want. I got this explanation directly from the NHRA tech guys, so I feel pretty good about how this all turned out. And I do understand what they're trying to do here, and I think it's a great idea. So you guys take care, be safe, try to keep your wheels down and roof up. So talk to you later.